This is a little bit more of an editorial, isn't it? You got a lot of attention out of it, but you also stuck it on the front page as well. You wanted it to get a bit of a stir.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to have a change of opinion, and all along we've been pretty strong saying that Kevin Rudd hadn't done enough to prove that he was up to taking over the Prime Ministership, particularly when you go back to March where he had an opportunity to challenge and he didn't.
Yeah.
So if you're going to fundamentally change your viewpoint, you want people to be aware of that and understand why.
All right. So you're part of the editorial is that do you want the debate to change? You want to start talking about the issue, stop talking about the leadership and get us ready for a decent election in September. Do you really think if Julia Gillard stands down and Kevin Rudd comes in, that we're going to actually start to debate those issues? We're going to have the chance to do that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think there's a greater chance of that. I mean, the key point around the editorial and why we changed our view is that the detail we looked into last week on the back of the Nielsen poll, particularly Tim Colbatch, did some great analysis. And what it showed is that if Labor's on the nose and has a lower support than the Coalition, what's even more damaging for them is that Julia Gillard is much lower, and she's just not being listened to, and that's what concerns us. And why we've suggested that Kevin Rudd take over, because clearly he has a stronger resonance with the Australian community. They listen to him, they're more prepared to listen to him. And we're fundamentally concerned that at the moment Tony Abbott can arguably sleepwalk into the Prime Ministership without the sort of scrutiny that anybody wanting to become Prime Minister deserves, and Julia's just not getting that cut through.
Yeah, I wanted to sort of pick up on that. I mentioned it at 8:30 this morning. There's part of that, a large part of that editorial it seems to be that you have concerns that Tony Abbott will do too well at the September election. I mean, is that not sort of a part of the democratic process? If he wins a lot of seats and he actually wins both houses, that's actually what people voted for. Is that not just part of the process?
No, absolutely, and I have no problem with that at all. You know, all we're saying here is that if he wins and he wins comfortably, then that's on the back of a very detailed interrogation, if you like, of the policies that he's going to bring in as Prime Minister of Australia. That's really what it boils down to. No issue at all if there's a landslide. He's articulated his policies really well. He's been well challenged on it. The community's had an opportunity to really understand what a Tony Abbott-led government will bring in. What troubles me at the moment is that he can get away with motherhood statements simply because he's so far ahead and he realises he doesn't need to go into that detail.
Yeah, but that's... I mean, look, I'm sorry, I wouldn't ever say that you don't have any right to voice that opinion. God knows 3AW can't turn around and tell the Age that, hey, that's enough of your opinions and poke you in the chest. But if Tony Abbott is doing well and is going to win the election, surely that's just what is supposed to happen. If he's selling it, or if the Labor Party isn't doing a good job selling it, well, that's their problem. And if the Liberal Party isn't doing a good job selling it, well, that's their bloody problem too.
No, I don't disagree with Justin. I mean, at the end of the day, an editorial is purely an opinion. It doesn't dictate the way we'll report the election contest. And if Julia Gillard remains as Prime Minister, we'll be, fair to her as we always have been. It's raising this issue and saying, is the campaign that we're going to have going to be strong enough? I mean, I remember, and I'm sure you do too, that when Jeff Kennett won government, in the final week of his campaign, he was so far ahead that he brazenly said, look, there's a number of policies I haven't announced to you yet. I'm not going to, because there's no point. I'll tell you after I'm Premier what I'm going to do. And that to me, that's far worse than anybody winning this landslide.
All right, have you had any calls from the PM's office, loud Scottish voices of John McTiernan screaming at you down the phone? Or? No,
strangely enough, that Scottish voice seems to go to everybody but me and tell me what he thinks of it all. So, no, my poor political editor copped a bit of a blast. But
oh, did he?
Yeah, but, Michael's he's used to that. Doesn't trouble him overly. So, no, nothing directly from the Prime Minister's office, but great debate from readers, as you can imagine. Plenty on Saturday, plenty still pouring in, and ultimately that's what it's about. It's sparking debate as being part of that debate so that we all understand what's happening in our country.
No, I certainly don't disagree with that. But, all right, well, and one more for you. I mentioned this to Michael Packey before. You're clearly backing Kevin Rudd to take over, but is there a Dennis Napthine of Canberra hanging around somewhere that might slide in that nobody's talking about at the moment, or not much? I don't think it's Bill Shorten, but someone who totally lacks baggage that could actually come in and take over.
That's possible. You'd think Combet or Shorten would be the two leading characters who might do that, and if they took it on, fantastic, because again, can they provide a strong challenge to Abbott? I think their own political self-interest would I mean, why would they? They're in for a hiding, whereas it appears that Kevin Rudd's supposedly is quite happy to take that on. So I think it's unlikely that a third person would come through.
Thanks for the chat. Appreciate it. Andrew, did you write this yourself?
No, I have a series of leader writers who always remain anonymous. So we talked it through on the Thursday and then on the Friday, and I think they did a fantastic job. It was a great piece of writing.